Hi, everyone, and welcome to our very first episode of the CrysKnickKnacks podcast. I'm your host, Sensei, and it's great to have you here. Since this is our very first episode, please bear with us for any little hiccups along the way. Your feedback is so important, so thank you in advance for your patience and being a part of this journey with us. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can actually find us at GCACG, which stands for Greek Connect, Anime, Comics, and Gaming. For all our mental wellness and youth initiatives, as well as event updates, follow us on Instagram at greekconnect.com. So here at Grip Connect, our mission is to build meaningful connections and empower communities. We truly believe in the power of passion to create positive change. That's why a huge part of what we do is our ACG initiative for youth. We use the exciting worlds of anime, comics, and games as a gateway to connect and help youth on their journey for self-discovery, setting goals, and ultimately building community and advocating for mental wellness. Without further ado, to kick off our very first episode, couldn't have a better guest. She is the fantastic artist and entrepreneur who perfectly embodies our mission. Her unique creations, ranging from handmade characters, inspired perfumes, to pride clay pins, to illustration of her original character, Holly the Hedgehog, and more, have a huge following on Instagram at CrysKnickKnacks. We will do the shout out later in our captions as well. Please give a warm welcome to Crystal. Yay! I'm going to do something here, which is like an interaction tool, which I'm going to show you. Good job. That's it. Good job. There. Welcome to join us here. Okay. So today we'll dive deep into her incredible journey, talking everything about otaku and pop culture to art, creativity, ins and outs of marketing and business, and her inspiring work in mental health advocacy. And with you, Crystal, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here as well on your first ever episode.
Yes, thank you so much. We are a bit nervous, and I understand you're also trying your best here. So let's try our best for the youth and ourselves. Okay, thank you for answering our questions. And here we are going to go through some of these questions so that we can share with our audience to really share about what we're doing here. And starting from you, uh, the first part of our questions is really about the otaku and pop culture fan. I mean, in Singapore, there isn't a very specific otaku branding for fans here in Singapore. But globally, I think if we align with, for example, US, they kind of like proudly call themselves otakus, a little bit different from Japan, where while they have opened up to this term a little bit, I think in some areas it could be still a little bit taboo. But I think it's fine. We are all opening up to the culture that we are part of. So my first question previously to you was, what's an anime or manga that completely changed your perspective on something?
Okay, so that specific anime is actually My Hero Academia. So it was one of the first few animes that I watched out of my own interest, and it wasn't really recommended by anyone. So as I was watching it, right, it kind of changed quite a lot on how I look at life, especially when it comes to growth and setbacks. Because the main character Deku, his journey is basically showing that even if he starts at a disadvantage, which in his case he didn't have any quirks or he didn't have any powers, right? A lot of consistent effort and willingness to learn can really take him far in life. So in the later parts of the seasons, no spoilers, but then he gotten into a very strong hero that a lot of people respect and all. So it really reminded me that progress is not always instant. It sometimes do take many small steps as well as falling down and getting back up again. And it also made me realize that sometimes it is important to ask for help. like how Deku actually asked his classmates, his mentors, and even his rivals to make him a stronger person. So
Mm,
that to me was an anime that was pretty interesting, and it kind of changed my perspective about how progress should be like.
mm. Okay, thank you for that outlook that you have on Deku's journey as well. I think it's actually a very popular anime in Japan itself too. I mean, if you see YouTube interviews and things like that, some of them will say that it is part of their growing up journey too. For for MHA that is. Okay, the next one. Mm, what is a piece of merch that you own that has a special story behind it? Right. I think you have also shared a little bit. It's from Naruto, right?
Yeah, so my first ever anime that I ever watched was actually Naruto. And
Mm,
I would say like the first character that I really remember liking a lot was Kakashi. So specifically my first figurine or anime figurine that I ever purchased was of Kakashi.
mm,
And that I would say is the most precious or most valuable piece of anime merch for me. Simply because I started watching anime about 3+ years back, and then I never really knew that I will love anime so much right now, like how I do. So being able to own a piece of merch of some of a character that I first grow to love, right, was something memorable for me lah.
mm. Okay. I is is the merch still with you?
Yes, it's actually still with me. It's right beside actually.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we do buy a lot of merch as well, so I think it's very precious. Um, yeah, has it gone out of control, your amount of merch?
Um, I I would like to think it's a reasonable amount as I grow to like more animes and characters. I try not to hoard too many of the same character.
Mm,
And I try to focus more on like let's say the specific action that they have in that figurine. If I really like it, then I'll get it. But I would still say it's a pretty decent collection of figurines.
okay. Yep, we will endeavor to do that as well. Okay, and for the next part, yeah, thank you. For the next part of the question, is with regards to more of the arts and creativity level you are. So, can you share with us the three artists from any medium that are currently inspiring you?
Mm. So I would say locally I have three key artists that I do follow their works quite closely, and some of them I actually like I gotten pretty close with them in the past couple of years too. So the
Mm,
first artist is Art Day. So her name is Dana, and she basically does happy cheerful like illustrations of anything that she comes by in her everyday life. She tend to also use a key medium of like watercolors,
mm,
but she does also explore pretty much a lot of other mediums as well. So to me, her works are there will always be a face or a expression drawn on even items that may not necessarily have like faces. So for example, kettlebell.
mm,
She is able to actually draw like a face on it to actually make it a little bit more lively and happy looking. So that to me is like a bringing your everyday life into arts and combining it together.
mm.
Um,
Okay.
the second artist I have in mind is actually Love Curates. So
Mm,
Love Curates, basically she does calligraphy work. She is a self-taught artist where she draws like botanical illustration and she also does calligraphy work, right? And she combines that into a product that is both art and also into workshops where she's able to hold like calligraphy workshops. She teaches people how to do botanical drawings, and
mm,
she also has a very interesting way of showcasing her art, which is through wedding displays. So all the wedding like decorations or reception tables, she's able to
mm,
incorporate her art into that. So that to me was another interesting point to look at because she is able to combine art with something that is a lot different from art, which is like wedding related items. So that was pretty cool for me.
mm,
Um, And the last person that I would like to mention is actually Madam Dottie.
Mm,
She might be known online as Giraffe, spelled with a J.
okay.
So she does a very fabulous job in storytelling. So she basically is able to come up with different stories for the characters that she has ongoing at that moment, and she
Okay.
does a very good deep dive into each of the characters like personality, the world that they are in, as well as it also connects to the merch that she eventually released for every chapter or story that she has under her brand. So
Mm,
that to me was very cool as well, because most of us like artists will be like, hey, this is our illustration, this is our new merch and all, but for her she really takes the effort to go through a entire storytelling to get you into the story before
mm,
she actually start revealing like most parts of the arts in it. So
mm,
yeah, I really like the storytelling part from her brand as well. So these are the three artists that like, I really like at this current moment.
mm. Okay, thank you for sharing. I think we know about Madam Dottie from you as well. And I think in the recent workshop or event that you all collaborated with, right? Okay, I
Yeah.
would like to hear a bit more of the stories because last time when I was young, right, I kind of like combine stories of like Little Mermaid, maybe with Elsa, maybe with Dora as well.
Mm.
So I think storytelling is really a very powerful channel to connect with people as well. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And for the next part, yeah, you'll hear me reading some papers. Okay. For the next part, what's a skill still pertaining to the arts and creativity part, right? So what's a
Mm.
skill that you're trying to learn or improve in your current creative practice?
Mm. Right now, okay, because my brand, I jump across many different mediums, but currently at this moment, I'm focusing on number one, traditional painting. So I want to go back to actual, like, paint and your brushes to really come out illustrations.
Mm,
And I do also shuffle between trying to improve on my digital illustrations. Basically, I focus a little bit more on trying to tie in colors between the background and the main subjects a little bit better. So
mm,
yeah, I would say that it's these two mediums that I'm trying to get a little bit better at during this period of time.
mm. Okay, we are definitely not expert, but I would think that you will, in order to be excelling at the area, you need to understand. They call it what's that? The color blending, um,
Mm.
and things like that very clearly as well, right? For your illustrations that are done digitally, is there a specific tool or app that you're using?
Okay, so for my digital illustrations, I only currently use Procreate.
Mm,
It's pretty beginner friendly, I would say. So that was actually the first like proper illustration app that I use for my drawings, and I've been trying to stick to it, learning the app a little bit more and trying to get a little bit better at it as well.
okay, we do use Procreate sometimes. I even went for a course on it previously. I think it's one of the more affordable apps out there because you can just pay once for eternal use, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thanks for sharing that. I hope that you'll be able to reach a level that you are proud and comfortable with the creative practice. Yep. For the next area that we are talking about, because we know your brands as per your nick here, CrysKnickKnacks, right? As
Mm.
the marketing and business mind that you have, how do you then stay authentic to your brand while trying to grow and then maybe reach out to new people as well?
Mm. So, personally for me, I always try to stay authentic by remembering why I even started the platform in the first place.
Mm,
To me, my platform has always been a space for me to unwind and express myself, and I don't ever want to lose that objective of why I even have this platform in the first place. And of course, at the same time, things that I draw, things that I create, I also hope to be able to share this happiness with others through my creation, right? And through Holly the Hedgehog, which is my original character. So
mm,
even as I grow and reach new people, I really try to focus on that very core purpose of doing it for myself and whatever that I've done for myself, I also want to spread happiness through it. So when I have this in mind, every single post or content that I create tend to be very genuine,
mm,
because it's something that I'm happy with, and it's not something that it's meant to chase the numbers, right? Like,
mm,
so I realize that a lot of brands out there, it's easy for us to always think about, oh, how many likes we're going to get today, how many views is our reels or stories going to get. But once you put that away for a while, you kind of remember why you even have your brand for,
mm,
and try your best to basically, like, stay authentic to it through remembering that core purpose to begin with. Yeah.
mm. Wow, thank you for sharing because what you have shared so far, right? Um, I think it's also a reminder to myself. Why do I really go into this work that I'm doing right now? Um, some of the things when you mention like self reminder, sometimes
Mm.
it's not so easy to remind ourselves, but we always need to find a space, some quiet moments to remind ourselves why we are doing this, right? So,
Yeah.
maybe to add on to that, right? Can I ask, um, how would you then use your time, or how do you remind yourself to remind yourself the purpose of the work that you are doing?
I think ultimately my brand has always been built on my thoughts and my creation. So perhaps right from the start, it was really with intent that this was more for a platform for myself.
Mm,
And if it's something that I look at it and I know that, it's not me, it doesn't feel like me, I will never put it up.
mm,
I think that itself, that self check when I look at every single content that I put up, right? The moment I feel that, hey, something's off, I don't feel great with it, I won't post it up. Yeah, so I
mm,
would I would rather sit on it a little while to either maybe change it up a bit to something that I feel more comfortable with, or maybe
mm,
something that I feel like, hey, this best represent me. I know that it is difficult at the end of the day to, always constantly remember that, hey, stick to the brand, stick to the guidelines that you have for your brand and all. And it's
mm.
okay once in a while to also have that little slight difference from your brand. But I think
Yep.
ultimately, if your intention has always remained the same as, for example, I want to spread my artworks to more people, or I want this to reach more people, or if it's just like a for fun, for a laughter thing, I
Mm,
think that will really ultimately guide the sort of content that you put out. And just always questioning yourself before you put out anything helps as a reminder.
mm. Okay. So it's really like when you see on it, it sounds like you'll try to ascertain whether this thing that you put out there, does it align with your values, the work that you
Mm,
do, and what is the boundaries of what you're trying to do here. If there's any, for example, is it at borderline? Do you want to even overstep your boundaries and things like that, your comfort zone, even thoughts like that as well, right?
yeah, exactly. So you must resonate with whatever you put out at the end of the day lah.
Mm-mm-mm. Okay, thanks for your sharing. And I think one question was, let me see. I might have misprinted that out, but I remember you. Oh, yeah, you have it here. Okay, what is more important for you as a marketing and business mind, whether it's a viral moment or a loyal and niche community?
Mm. I would say that for me, I strongly believe a loyal niche community, um, hands down, is something that I will select over a viral moment. I
Mm,
do get that viral moments can help with your numbers. It can help with your views in that instant moment. But if your uh, content doesn't connect with your followers, right, or your community as per se, that viral moment also disappears very quickly as well. So that's
mm,
why I feel that like a loyal niche community is a lot more important to me. Like personally on my platform, I have a little like secret, not so secret group of closer followers called Holly's Humans.
mm,
They named it themselves as well through like certain posts and all. So
mm,
from time to time, I do actually provide a lot more of interaction through this close friend group.
mm,
And I also do show them more behind the scenes, show them a lot more content on my raw like thought process for them to connect better to me as a brand, or
mm,
as a artist, or even as just a follower of like Holly itself. So I think
mm,
because I had this like little closed platform, right? They
mm,
show up for me time after time in terms of resonating with my content, in terms
mm,
of liking the products that I put out. And they do give me a lot of like encouragement, or even like suggestions on what they want to see next and all.
mm,
So I won't say that numbers are not important as per se, but the quality of your followers ultimately is still more important than the quantity of followers you have. Like you
mm,
can have more than 10,000 followers as compared to maybe my brand, where I only have like 1,000 plus followers, right? Slightly less than 2,000.
mm,
But if my 2,000 followers, they show up for me every single day, that beats 10,000 followers that I have no interaction with, or I have no idea who are they.
mm,
So yeah, to me, community over a viral moment for sure.
mm. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, just to let out the secret, we are also one of the secret little Holly's human with our another account with Crystal. And thank you for sharing this with your. I think it's a good idea with the close friend part, because I think most of the creators out there, you probably have to subscribe to their channel. It's a separate group into their chat as well. I thought this. I mean, we are usually pretty. Um, we want simple stuff also. So I think the close friends group is an easy way to connect. You just need to, when you post on stuff, you just need to choose the close friends group to disclose whatever you have.
Yeah.
I feel that is the fastest and easiest way as well. Mm,
Yeah, so I think that was honestly the key reason why I preferred to have a close friend list over a channel, because a channel feels like, people really have to click into many places and all in all just to interact with you. And I believe most of the interaction can sometimes only be one way, as
mm,
compared to like IG story is quick content for them to like, oh, it's like a casual chat, like how you're checking out your friends, like social media and all. So I think that
mm,
was meant to be the idea. It was supposed to be a true thing for everyone. Like if you see it, great. If you don't, it's all right. You didn't miss a lot, sort of thing.
Agree with that, because we are also part of some channels. I think it is usually pretty one way, in the sense that if you post something, your main interaction is like liking, laughing, smiling, more of the emojis kind of reflection. But I think with
Mm.
the friend group, I mean, there's a message box there. You can always check and chime in what your thoughts are as well. Okay, so thank you for that. And the next part that we are going into is really more on the mental health advocate work that we are working on, and knowing yourself as I mean, we are sharing here like your job as a sports science and sports management head in a private sports school, correct?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with that, right, how do you then link all this with your creative work, your mental well-being, and things like that? I see that you have mentioned here that you think that everyone should have a hobby in order to have an outlet. Can you help to elaborate there a little bit more?
Yeah. So like what I mentioned, I'm really a strong believer that everyone needs to have a hobby in order to have an outlet. And the
Mm,
hobby doesn't necessarily always have to be related to what you do at, let's say, your day job, or let's say for the use whatever you have as your CCA, for example.
mm,
To me, my creative work contributes to my mental well-being, because it is my safe space to unwind and express myself at the end of the day. And I feel that when life gets a little bit overwhelming, right, creating
mm,
gives me that outlet to release stress and to turn my thoughts into something positive. So it is both calming and energizing at the same time. And what makes it even more meaningful for me is knowing that through my creative works, I can also be able to bring joy to others as well.
Mhm.
And that sense of connection of being able to make someone smile or feel comforted feeds back into my happiness at the end of the day. So in a way, my creativity doesn't just support my mental health, it
Mm,
also helps me to build like many small other moments of positivity for both myself and the people who engage with my works.
mm. Yeah, I remember. I think there was one prompt that you shared about sending some I think like motivation perks to us, and I also filled in something and about needing some motivation and inspiration for the solo entrepreneurship and things like that. Yeah, so you have answered us as well, and I think it feels like usually when I do volunteering work as well, like you feel the same joy giving, and you feel that it also helps helps you in a way, like you do feel the joy from giving the joy to others, and you feel that probably double back to yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you can if you're fortunate enough to put yourself in a situation where you can help others while also unwind at the same time, I think that's like the perfect like solution there already.
Mm. Yep, thank you so much. Let me see, I think there's also a few more questions with regards to the mental health space. Thank you for answering them for us. So with regards to how you recharge and reflect, right? How do you then create a safe space for yourself?
I generally create like a safe space for myself by very intentionally setting time aside to
Mm,
really like slow down and recharge through art or creation. um
mm,
to me, creating art has really become a form of self-care that I don't take for granted, because
mm,
it does allow me to step away from stress and to focus on something that brings me joy and it calms me down, right? So
mm,
I really focus on making sure I create without stress.
mm,
So I make sure that I surround myself with like the right people and ensure my space that I work with, right, is filled with a lot of like happy things such as like trinkets or knickknacks that will kind of like improve my mood a bit.
Okay, it sounds like a very dreamy environment already. like like I can imagine myself in the space that you are in, and then everything is like going through your way. So this word that you use, you take intentional time to step back and create this safe space for yourself. I think it's very important for all of us here that we intentionally take the time to step away. It doesn't need to be stepping away from like stress or busy work and things like that. But we need to actually allocate time for ourselves to just disconnect for a while and focus on the things that we enjoy doing, so that this stress or anything will not pile up as much or as fast as uh we may foresee.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe can you share with us also, right? What's a simple and daily practice that helps you to stay grounded?
I try to really consume art in some form every day in any way. So it could be through creating it myself,
Mm,
it could also be me doing like a quick doodle if I feel like it,
mm,
or if I have no time to create myself, then I make sure that I'm also like checking out works from other artists, likely through social media, just
mm,
to see what people are up to and all. So I think it's just the idea of um really putting myself to indulge in art in some form.
mm, mm. Okay. I mean, likewise, we will also indulge in arts through, for example, Instagram. I think it's really more of like, aside from consumption, I think the one thing that when we like an art, or if we help to simply repost a simple artwork from other people, um, it helps to let their work be known, and at the same time, I don't know, it feels that you may be doing something good for yourself also. Like when you do that, when you appreciate the art as it is, like not just plain consumers, but really also do something for the artists, right? I think it actually helps you to stay grounded in the sense that you do not take their art for granted too, and you do actually appreciate the work that they do, and it's not just like mindless scrolling. You're just scrolling a lot without even any reactions back to them. No? I think that
Mm.
is useful to the artist. Okay, for the last question with regards to mental health related, right? So how can we as a community better support the mental health of artists and creators, even to your followers?
Mm, I think communities wise they can better support the mental health of artists by perhaps normalizing certain like open conversations about struggles, or providing like accessible resources, and even creating safe supportive spaces where they feel connected and valued. um I from a artist point of view, I think it's important that we celebrate the effort and process behind the works that we put out, and not just about the finished product. Because I think ultimately when we put ourselves out there online, or when we brand ourselves as an artist or a brand, right, many
Mm,
people would judge your personality, or they would judge, I guess, your mental state or your characteristics based on the artworks that you put out. And
mm,
sometimes these artworks is only a small fraction of who we are as an artist,
mm,
or some of the thoughts that we're perhaps trying to process, right? So
mm,
I think it will be nice to see if everyone can treat each other with a little bit more kindness, and perhaps to see and support artists as an entire human being, and not just for their art.
mm, 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 mm. Okay, as in, it's really to view them wholly, human, holy, view
Hollywood
them,
woman.
yeah, like really to see them as there are more to them, right? Except on top of the arts that they have created, and I think sometimes as a community, I think it's important that when you say things like not just the finished product, even the small efforts that they are doing and things like that. I think even as consumers or as end users, it's always nice to just chip in and you can do it, send a 加油 and things like that. And for creators yourselves, I mean, we do some crafts, but we are not so 100% creator yet. Um, it's important to reward yourself also. So, what we have learned in some of the positive intelligence work that we do, right, is that for any new habit or new thing that we are doing, we are trying to transform ourselves, right? We usually reward ourselves with any one small step. Okay. So, can I ask, right, what is a reward that may come to your mind if you feel that you have tried enough today or done a good job today?
Oh, okay, a reward.
Mm,
I would say if it's a very like immediate on the spot reward, to me it will likely be bubble tea.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, but if it's a more like long term reward, like for example, I completed a whole series of things that I had in mind, it will likely be something maybe art supplies related, like perhaps new paint, new brushes, or things like that, just to like reward myself.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, for our case, if we usually do something, the quick fix will be like there's a mini magnum, that kind of thing. So we have mini magnum in the fridge. So when we
Mm.
think we have tried our best or done well at something for today, for example, we may just eat one of the mini magnum ice cream. Yep. Okay. And I think the last part here, right, is an interesting closure. So we wanted you to describe your business origin story as if it were a first episode of an anime. Okay, can you share with us on that?
Okay, so when I first got this question, it took me a while to think about it. But I
Okay.
think to stay true to my brand, it's always a combination of Chris and Holly, right?
Mm.
So here's my first episode and what it will likely be.
Okay.
So in the first episode, we'll probably meet Chris, who is a hardworking educator who turns to arts and craft after work in order to relieve stress and to express emotions. So, from her imagination, she then created Holly the Hedgehog, a cheerful companion who represents like her inner thoughts and feelings, and who happens to also share her love for bread more than anything.
Mm,
So to keep Holly happy and well fed with bread, Chris pours her heart into crafting and doing art, finding joy and healing through the creations as well. So what begins as a way to cope with like anxiety and stress soon pretty much blossom into a mission to put smiles on people's faces in small way possibles, a journey of self-expression, a way
mm,
to connect with like-minded individuals,
mm,
with basically Chris and Holly setting out to share like warmth, creativity and comfort with the world.
okay, okay. You know what comes to my mind as you describe this? It sounds like, anime, we have something called isekai anime.
Yeah,
It seems like you have transported into a faraway land. I can imagine the grass and the path that you're walking with Holly beside you. I don't know what's in your hand, but maybe not axe and sword, but maybe, I don't know,
bread.
paintbrush
You will likely
and
be bread.
and yeah, you'll be toasting bread, making bread, eating bread. And then the first episode ends with both of you heading into the sunset, walking down the path. I don't know, maybe there's a castle in front of your first new adventure. Sounds something like that.
I'll probably imagine like the whole anime is like every episode we're fighting one specific thing. It could
Mm,
be an emotion or it could be a feeling or it could just be a situation as well.
mm,
And pretty much how me and Holly like overcome each of it.
mm. Okay. Wow. So each episode is like overcoming it can be emotion, challenge.
Yeah.
Uh it could be fighting it, winning it, or it could be just finding peace with it, right?
Yeah. Potentially, yeah.
Mm. Okay. Uh, Very nice conversation with you. Sorry to take up your time. We were taking some time to do the testing also. Uh, I hope you enjoyed our session so far. So how
We
has it been
definitely
for
do.
you?
Sorry?
How has it been for you, this session?
Um I think okay to me it's the first time that I done an interview with a VTuber. So
Mhm,
it's a pretty interesting process for me, like the whole setting up and all. And I love the whole like background setup you have for your VTuber as well. Super cute, especially like the little ghost beside you. But thank you so much for actually having me here and to be able to speak on topics that are a lot closer to my heart, talking about my arts, my creation and why I do all this, alongside how art is helping me with my mental health and
mm,
starting like an art as a business from scratch as well. So I really enjoyed this entire session and being able to answer the questions accordingly as well.
mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
so to really finally close this, I think I mentioned something about the youth part as well. As a youth who is also supporting you, maybe what is the first thing, or maybe what is one thing that you wish to advocate or share with fellow youth like yourself, or to the youth that you are also coaching?
So personally, in my full-time
Mm,
job, I work with a lot of youth as well. And
mm,
I think most of the time, the struggles that I see from them is that they never have an outlet for themselves. So I think the main thing that I really want to advocate for is to make sure that every single person, youth or even non-youth as well, you must have an outlet for yourself. And finding that outlet can change in a couple of years or it could change with like your different chapters in life, but the whole idea is to always focus on having something positive that you can look forward to, a hobby or even like a show that you indulge in and all, like to basically make sure that you always have an outlet and not to keep to yourself too much, so that it kind of helps with your mental health at the end of the day.
mm. Okay. to have a healthy and positive outlook.
Yeah,
Find it yourself. It could happen in a short while. It could happen in a few years. It could be different through your different seasons of life as well.
yeah.
Mm. Okay, thank you so much for your time, Crystal. Let me just pause for a moment. Okay, so we will actually be uploading this to the YouTube. We'll probably go through some of the edits as well. And
Mm.
we look forward to the next session with the audience. Thank you once again for your time, Crystal.